I posted my first clip of the podcast this week. I took some of the stuff I was talking about, the Manosphere and the Louis Theroux documentary, and it did so well. So welcome, old listeners, and welcome to the shiny new ones as well. So had a lot more downloads over the week because I guess people just discovered the podcast and thought, wow, that seemed slightly insightful. Let me listen to the whole thing and see if it's the same. Then probably realised it's a lot of waffling and I got about a minute and a half of content out of an hour's podcast. Basically, it's just me sitting down every week, talking about my week, and apparently every now and again, I will stumble onto something. And in this time, it was the Manosphere. It is cool when something like that really takes over the internet. It sort of brings people together. I felt like that happened a while ago with the Brooklyn Beckham statement. That came out, and I saw it that night, and it flashed up, and it came up as like a news flash up on my phone. Because I thought, as a way to sort of stay in the know, I should listen to, or sort of get, I listen to a news podcast and that I should get news updates. And some of them that come through are like, one, quite a terrible way to start the day when it's the first thing you see. But also, when I saw that, I was like, oh, do we care about that? And turns out, yes. Yeah, people really do care about that because, that sort of went, it was the next day I thought, oh, maybe I'll do a reel about it. And it sort of went, I think that went viral. People love a topical thing at the minute. More on Instagram than I've ever noticed. So I then did it again for the Bad Bunny halftime show. I did a reel off the back of that. Then I did it when Andrew got arrested. And now it's nice. If something topical happens, get it out there. And this week it was the Manosphere, wasn't it? Luckily, it was everybody agreeing as well. It's when everybody agrees on something, it helps. Then it's sort of, there's no hate. X, I don't go on X anymore, but whenever I've opened it up, I had a dream when I was about 7. This is related, by the way. I've not just moved on. And opposite my school was a park that me and my mum would walk through to get to school and back home. Can't remember what it was called. I always used to call it Langley Park, but it turns out it's not Langley Park. Langley Park is like a big foresty park. What was that park called? I don't think I just called it the park because it was pretty clear which one we meant because it was so close to our house and it was the big. What? Can I just have a look quickly? It was by Langley Village. So I'm just Langley Village. Just have a look if they've got the name of the park. Anyway, so I had this dream that me and my mum were walking, about to go through the park, and where's this park? Oh, I can see it. Langley Memorial Ground. Didn't know it was called that. That's why we just called it the park then. Oh, Richard Parker wants to come in. He's been out all morning for hours. I've decided to record the podcast, and he wants to come in. Sorry, one moment. I will finish this story. Sorry if this is the first episode you're listening to. And sorry also if it's the 12th one. Hello, mister. But this will happen throughout the podcast. He just comes in every time I press record. He's gone straight over to... Is there any food in there? I don't think there is. He's looking at it, then looking at me. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have to do something in a minute. Let me finish this anecdote. So I've at least got through one in the first 5 minutes. I wouldn't have, by the way, because it's going to go over 5 minutes. I've still not finished it. Basically, me and my mum walked through... it was a dream. We're coming from school, and as you went into the park, there was a few little entrances. It was a big bush. Oh, he has got food, if you can hear that. He's found it. There was a big bush, And then there was little like walkways you could go into. There's like a little gate you could go through, maybe like 2 or 3 along the side of the park. But otherwise you couldn't quite see it because it was a big bush, especially if I was like 7. Anyway, the dream I had was that as we walked past one of those little entrances, I looked in and there was loads of men fighting. And some of them were in yellow jumpers and some of them were in red jumpers. And they were just fighting and there were sticks. It was like a old sort of Renaissance painting of like a battle. And it was years later I realised that must have been a dream, because why would they all turned up to why would they have all turned up to the park in clothes ready to fight in? I mean, a good thing to do if there's going to be loads of them fighting. I was sure it was real, but I think my mum would have remembered it and she said it wasn't, so you don't have to go with her on that one. She was the adult. Anyway, when I go onto Twitter, X, whatever, that's what I think of. It's just people battling, basically. That's what all that was for. Sorry about that. God blimey. I have my first sip of tea of the episode. Sorry about that. What a waffly start. It will also be a waffly middle and end, but it usually doesn't start that sort of chaotic. So, the big trend this week seems to have been online. People posting photos of themselves of what they look like in the 90s. That's what I've noticed is the big thing everyone's doing. Now, I won't do that because I can't help but think, one, I don't think anybody wants to see that from me. Just imagine me, but in the 90s. Imagine me, but younger. It's that. Like, I think it's a nice thing to do if it's somebody like Courtney Cox did it. And Courtney Cox, because then it's a nostalgia trip. In the 90s, you want to watch that because we know what's coming as well. We're about to see Courtney Cox as we remember her in Friends. This is going to be a lovely trip down memory lane. However, when it's just, and I hope this is okay to say, regular people, are we? Now I don't claim to be the smartest person in any room. I'm currently in a room on my own with my cat, and I'm not sure I'm the smartest person. But would he be considered a person? There we go, Exhibit A. Anyway, aren't we constantly told to be careful what we put online? And then should we maybe not be giving it photos of what we looked like in the 90s? Because if it's AI is so smart, AI is able to sort of put data together. So I can't help but feel like if you're posting a photo of what you look like now, like a video of you now, that's what people are doing. It sits on your face for a while and says, here's what I look like now. And then here is what I look like in the 90s. Are we not sort of teaching AI how people age in real time and sort of data collecting sort of so they can not only create images of what you look like now, but also back then? And then also, when you do see an AI image, it's too shiny, everything's too good. You can look at it and go, okay, that's clearly AI, it looks too polished. But when they're seeing photos from the 90s, they've got that lighting that's a bit different, it's a bit grainy. So it'd be easier for AI to fake photos from the 90s than it would be for AI to fake photos now. There was one that went around this week of Justin Bieber and Usher having a fight at a party that apparently never happened. So, or the argument did happen, but this picture's not real. It sort of got Beyonce in the background holding a glass of wine going, and everyone's like, to be fair, it looks real, but then it's not. So they can do it now, but then that is a photo from a party. So it's the fact it looks a bit grainy helps you think it's real. So are we not just saying to AI, This feels like I've turned into sort of a massive conspiracy theorist, but I just think if there was a website where they said, could you just film your face for 10 seconds and then show us a picture of what you looked like 30 years ago? And sorry for anybody who's just realised that the 90s was 30 years ago. And they said, could you just upload that onto a website? We'd probably go, I'll probably not do that, actually. Is that okay to not do that? So, because people love two things, people love nostalgia and they love to talk about themselves. And I'm saying this and I'm sat here on a podcast that is just me talking on my own for an hour. So, we're all guilty of it. But because people love nostalgia, I'm just thinking if somebody decided this would be a good way for us to collect data and they say, well, what's a song we can use from the 90s that across the board everybody loved? Let's go with Google Dolls, Iris. And then we put that out there. A few big names do it. So I'm not saying Courtney Cox is guilty, but they give it to big names. Big names do that. And then everyone goes, that's a trend I can get on board with. And now, I don't know, Graham, who just works in an office, or Caroline, who, what could Caroline do? Hairdresser? Is that right to say? And she goes, I'll do that. And then Caroline just posts video of her now. It's me. Mum, what were you like in the 90s? There it is. AI, you can now basically, because I'm going to post photos of me from now on, in the last few years, they're all online, and the ones going forward, you'll have photos. Now, just to be clear, you've also got the one of me from the 90s. But maybe me stepping into the podcast world and YouTube means that I have just turned into a bit of a conspiracy theorist. I did discover Reddit this year, so maybe that's what's happened there. But no, I won't be doing it. Basically, I just don't think anybody really, needs to see that. And I think it's okay if you were on TV or something in the 90s or in films or Sports Star and you can play it. Bit of fun, lovely, because that image, they're all out there. I'm just saying, trends happen and these trends come about and you just don't know what they're doing. Another trend I've noticed this week is people tuck in their like jumpers or their sweaters into their jeans. I don't want to sound like an old man, but what is all that about? I cannot comprehend why that would make any sense. It's like the clothing equivalent of staying in a hotel when you get into bed and can't move your feet and you sort of feel trapped because for some reason the sheet is so big it goes all the way back under the mattress to your head, I guess. Why would you... That now... I've not even tried it. I do wear sweaters with jeans. There's just at no point have I thought, I'll probably put this in. You sort of look like, going back to the 90s, you look like a 90s weightlifter, where they would have that sort of big grey sweater tucked in, and then that big belt on. You sort of look like that. But I met someone yesterday who was wearing it, and it was a meeting. Sorry if he's listening. I'm not saying a bad thing. He could pull it off, whereas I would have to pull it off because it would look ridiculous, is what I'm saying there. It was like, he had the energy of someone who could do it. It just looks like you've made a mistake. I think if I was with a friend and they walked up to me, we were meeting to go for dinner or something, and they turned up and they had their jumper or their sweater tucked into their jeans, I would have assumed they'd just come back from using the toilet and had accidentally tucked it in. It just doesn't look right. Now, the 90s is having a huge resurgence. I've actually been watching Love Story. Have you watched that? Love Story is the JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bassett story. Now, probably huge in America, not as big here, because the Kennedys are like America's equivalent to the royal family. In fact, I'm surprised they didn't just do a whole, like we did The Crown, they didn't just do the Kennedys and go through the whole thing. Because they're they are their equivalent, and they're interesting family. I mean, the history is crazy. I remember Vampire Weekend having a lyric. What was it? Irish something naturally, but you've got the luck of a Kennedy. And I remember hearing that and going, "Oh right, that's all I really knew about the Kennedy. I knew about JFK, I knew about Bobby. I just didn't know this whole thing that it was ongoing and ongoing. And now, they've got one who's a conspiracy theorist, haven't they? So maybe we'd get along. But anyway, Love Story. I've been watching it. It's amazing. It's on Disney Plus. Just watch it, because almost when you're watching it, you can just tell that they've put the work in, because I've then gone back and watched clips that would have happened in real life from the show, and they look, the clothes, the look is so spot on. It's unbelievable. And obviously you can't really do that with The Crown up until the sort of like Charles and Diana years, because it was back in history too much. Back in history too much. Lovely stuff. But it's just brilliant. And in fact, the guy who plays JFK Jr., this is his first acting role. He's a model. And I think a few weeks before they were about to film, they realised they didn't, well, not they suddenly realised they didn't have him cast, because that would be quite the oversight. If just a producer came in and just asked who was playing JFK Jr. And they all went, yeah, knew we missed something there. Sorry, we're too busy uploading photos of us from the 90s, which actually would have been great fun for that set. That would have been a good morale boost around the set. We're doing a show set in the 90s. Let's all see what we were like in the 90s. Bit of workplace fun. Anyway, he's a model, and I looked on his IMDb to go, what's this guy done before? Nothing. This is what he's done. He is JFK Jr. It is amazing. It's also got Meryl Streep's daughter in it. That's big shoes to fill. I always think that if your parent is famous for something, going into the same thing is really tough, isn't it? Because you're just going to get compared. Yeah. Obviously, if they're not, if it's like a famous thing, I don't think anyone's doing that. If your dad's an accountant and you try and follow him into that, but I just mean acting like that. I think, has she changed her name, or is she using Streep? Because I think a smart thing they do is they check. Let me check what she's done before I start talking about this too much, because it is a real person. IMDb. It's called Love Story. It's on Disney Plus. Love Story. Disney Plus. So Meryl Streep's daughter isn't the main. No, yeah, she's gone by the name Grace Gummer. I would say if you're going to come up with your own fake name, I wouldn't have gone for Gummer. Wonder why she did that. Sorry, because as I say, I'm talking about a real person, so let's be slightly. Why is she that? Check she is who I thought she is as well. Parents. Meryl Streep. Oh, her dad's name is Don Gummer. Right, sorry, Don. I thought she had just come up with a name for herself and gone with Gummer. And I wouldn't have done that. He's an American sculptor. So a very arty family. And then she's also got, she was married. She's in a second marriage. So I'm really going deep in now. She's got a brother, yeah. Oh, a couple of Gummers. Oh, okay. I thought someone had used the name Streep going on, but that's Meryl Streep's mum, so that you can forgive her for that one. But yeah, otherwise they've all gone with the. I guess Meryl Streep's probably kept the name Meryl Streep because it sort of worked with her acting. Maybe she's as maybe she took his name. Don't know. But yeah, she's great. The everyone in it is great. It's so well done. And I'm a fan of this. The episodes come out every week. Remember that? So it's on Disney Plus, but they upload an episode every, I think, Monday. I think, but God, it's good. And it's a history lesson, so you feel like you're learning while having fun. A bit like this podcast. Something else I found out this week while we're learning. Do you know the inventor of the Frisbee died in 2010? The inventor of the Frisbee I feel like he should have been gone in like the 1800s. The Frisbee. It just feels so obvious that if you just fling... But imagine how many people were throwing plates and no one thought to monetize it. The Frisbee. And then I think if you Google him, I think he worked for NASA. Obviously not one of the smartest ones there, because I think if you went to NASA and you've got people going round on that spinny thing to sort of like learn what it's like in G-force, you've got people being spun around in a pool underwater, and you've got people doing the maths to figure out how they can send this satellite to orbit Mars. And then you looked over, and outside you've got a guy sort of flinging a plastic disc around. You'd go, right, he's probably a NASA nepo baby. He has followed his dad or his mum into their career, and it's not gone well. Imagine you looked at it and you went, oh yeah, that's Neil Armstrong's grandson. Yeah. Although he'd probably be older than Neil. Maybe it's like Neil's brother. It's not, though. They're not related, I don't think. But I just can't believe that the inventor of the Frisbee was around to watch Avatar. Just doesn't feel like that crossover should ever happen. But he did. He was, what was his name? I think it was William. Inventor of the Frisbee. Inventor of the Frisbee. I hope I read this right. Can you imagine? Do you ever do that? Do you ever tell someone a fact and then go... And there's a fact I can't even think what the fact is now. I tell people again and again and again, and every time I tell someone, I'm thinking, I should probably just double check that one, because I don't actually know if it's real. Walter Frederick Morrison died in 2010. The American inventor developed the Frisbee, inspired by throwing metal cake pans in the 30s. I mean, he had to do something to spend his time, I guess. He developed a plastic, more aerodynamic version, originally called the Pluto platter. So he probably was, knocking about with NASA, and he went, got to do something with this. In fact, if you Google Walter Frederick Morrison, the picture is of him he's holding a Frisbee. You've got the inventor of the Frisbee holding up the Frisbee, wearing a NASA spacesuit. And he's got like a glass protector on. I think you're fine. Like, how many... You've invented something that dogs can catch in their mouths. I think you're going to be okay. But yeah, 2010. So I just thought I'd share that with you. So speaking of NASA, if we want nice, what's the word? Not tangents. Tangents is when you go off on something. People go off on a tangent. What is it when it's actually connected? It's also the name for a vehicle you can ride around on, isn't it? Segway. Sorry. Shouldn't be making myself laugh, but that was so silly. The big fact that goes around online, actually, is that the inventor of the Segway died going off a cliff on a Segway, but that one's not true. So that's another fact for you, that fact isn't a fact. It is, in fact, not a fact. Anyway, the clean segue was supposed to be NASA 2. I went to see Project Hail Mary. What a film. Brilliant. Now, I'm a fan of the book anyway, and a fan of Ryan Gosling. So it was a lovely matchup for me when I saw that he'd been cast. And wow, it's so good. And his acting in it, problem is I can't talk about it too much without giving a spoiler. But actually, it's in the trailer. that he meets an alien. If you're listening to that going, that doesn't sound like it's for me. It's done in a way that it is. I mean, I don't know you obviously, but it works. It's like, but it's basically him acting with a bit of rock, really. And his acting is unbelievable. He's so good. He's had a bit of a tough time in that he's a big name. And yet, it's like he was the Fall Guy, wasn't he? Which I know is a term, so it's a confusing thing to say, but he was in the film The Fall Guy when they made that the film, and it didn't really hit. But then again, I think, I don't know why he really took that on. Loved him in Drive. Loved him in, is it Crazy Stupid Love or Stupid Crazy Love? I think it's Crazy Stupid Love. Loved him in Crazy Stupid Love. I actually saw a post the other day that Steve Carell had said he thinks that film would have done better if it was going to be called The Wingman. Now, if you think of that film as The Wingman, it becomes one of those classic buddy comedies. But I think calling it something like Crazy Stupid Love makes it, and sorry, I know this is probably quite a dated thing to say, and it seems a bit, but it gives it a big sort of chick flick. It makes it like a date thing, right? It's a big chick flick energy. So I think a lot of guys maybe wouldn't admit that they like. I love it. It's a great film. In fact, I remember watching it thinking, it's almost like they've tried to make two different films here. And then as it comes up at the end, you can see that it's directed by two people. So maybe that's where it's sort of split between one of them was trying to make The Wingman and one of them was making Crazy Stupid Love. It's the sort of thing now where you could put out that film with two different posters of them two, and they should have released the film twice. Once as Crazy Stupid Love and once as The Wing, and people would have just thought, sorry, once as Crazy Stupid Love, once as The Wingman. Two different posters. One of them is the poster they used, which was like I think a lady's legs, and you can see Steve Carell through the legs. And another one, giving it a white background, sort of wedding crashing it up a bit. White background, red writing called the Wingman, and have Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling sort of leaning up against each other. And release those two films on the same weekend. Everyone would have just thought, oh, wow, they're in two films at the same weekend. And realised it was gone and watched it and then come out and realised they were watching the same film. Just a bit of fun they could have done there. Just an idea. Because I think that you would have got bros, I guess they're called, going to watch one film, thinking it's like in there with like the dodgeball, Wedding Crashers vibe. And Wedding Crashers is for everybody. It's not just a bros film, obviously. Why do I keep saying bros film like it's a normal thing to say? Guys, you know, that sort of thing. Someone asked me yesterday why Nando's has done so well. And my this is in keeping. I know this sounds like I've started a new thought. But I don't know what that thought is now. What was that thought? Oh yeah, they asked why it's done so well, and I said it's because if you're like a teenager, like 15, 6, whatever, 15, you know what a teenager is. When I was like that, you couldn't, I don't think Nando's was around, but you couldn't say to your friends, so we go out for dinner on Friday. Me and my friends either had to go to the cinema, go to the park, or go to someone's house and like play the PlayStation. That was your options, really, because you couldn't suggest, why don't we go for dinner? So the fact that they've made that a thing, and so people then grew up doing it with their friends, and it's a place now for guys to go, oh, let's just go to Nando's, because you can't really go like to your friends, oh, should we go out for a nice meal together on Friday? They go, what? Yeah, I don't know. And I'm just saying, let's order a pizza and just play the PlayStation and watch a horror film. I mean, that was my childhood, and it was great, but it could have just done with some extra chicken. How did I get to that? Oh, yes. So they were asking why was Nando's so popular. I said that. And then I was talking about Project Hail Mary, which had Ryan Gosling in it, which I loved in Crazy Stupid Love, and back to Project Hail Mary. It's so good. I also saw yesterday, it already broke a record, I think, for like an opening weekend, although it just came out on Thursday. So it's already done something this weekend. So I think it will do very well. Also, cleverly, what they did is they put the trailer of Project Hail Mary out during the Super Bowl. So that was about 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, maybe. So that was the trailer. Then the film comes out, because that's people's attention span now is about 6 weeks maximum, usually shorter. Otherwise, they put a film and trailer out 6 months early, then people don't even know whether it's come out or not. Do you ever see like a poster on the side of a bus for a film, and then it's got like the date on it from, like, you'll see it in like February and it's still got November on it. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot that even came out. It's just been around for ages. I didn't even think about it. They go, here's the trailer. 6 weeks later, here's the film. Everyone knows about it. There's a sweet spot, because some films do it way too early and some films just don't get any good PR, basically. It's like if you watch a film on Netflix, do you ever find it where you'll go, shall I watch that? And then you put the trailer on it on Netflix and it's a 3-minute trailer and you go, I think I've just seen the film. I think that was everything that I'm about to watch, because they're using the same formula for trailers that they used to do in the cinema. And you'd go to the cinema and you'd watch a trailer for a film coming out in 6 months. And you'd go, great, that looked amazing. I will watch that and I'll forget a lot of what was in the trailer. But now with Netflix, you're about to press play on something 30 seconds after you've watched the trailer. So it's too much. It's way too much. But Project Hail Mary got it right. Here's the trailer 6 weeks later, here's the film. And the film is great. Go and watch that if you want just I guess it's a feel-good film. Yeah, it's feel-good. I felt good while I was watching it. So there's my popcorn. So yeah, I recommend that. Actually, Ryan Gosling, what happens obviously when a film comes out is you do this sort of PR thing. It happens a lot with podcasts, I've noticed now. If people have a new podcast coming out, they'll start appearing on everyone's podcast and you'll see like articles written about them. It's like a big PR push to get a podcast out there. You may have noticed I've not done that with this. So it's a similar thing with films, right? Which is that people will appear on the right chat shows just enough that they hit everybody. So let's get Ryan Gosling to do like there was a guy on Instagram who, it must be like a football content creator, and Ryan Gosling has a ball that's got Project Hail Mary written on it. He kicks it up in the air and then the football content creator guy catches it in his feet, and that's the clip basically. So you go, right, you've got the sort of the young ones there who follow this guy. 6 million people follow him. They would have seen that reel. It looks good, and they've put it out there. Bit of PR, done. They could have got him on Subway Takes, for example. Sit next to this guy, Ryan, what's your take? And he'll say it, and then that goes viral. So you hit a few things, then they'll go, right, let's get him on Graham Norton, if that's running at the moment, which it isn't. But they would have got him on that. You get him on. And then, of course, in America, Fallon, can we get him on the chat shows? And then it's just enough around, a bit of online content, a bit of TV, that everyone's fully aware Ryan Gosling's got a new film coming out, go and watch it. It works, it's great. And then Ryan was on, sorry, I've used first, I've never met him. And even if I had, I still wouldn't call him Mr. Gosling. Hello, Ryan. God, what a beautiful man as well. Even if you're not into space stuff, it's good to sort of look at Ryan Gosling for an hour and a half. Is that objectifying? Maybe. It's also not an hour and a half. It's 2 hours, 36 minutes. Oh yeah, so Ryan Gosling was on one of the radio shows in London, Capital or Radio 1, and he's saying that we in London do not appreciate foxes enough. And I couldn't believe how many people disagreed with him in the comments. I love foxes. I have a cat and I love foxes. Now, him and the foxes are slightly wary of each other, but they don't fight. They're just, for him, he's not sure what it is. And for the foxes, they're probably not sure because they go, it's sort of got fur, but lives the other side of the doors. I love the foxes. If I didn't have a cat, I would feed them. The only reason I don't is because I think then it might get a bit territorial. But when I see one, I love them. And we've got big ones around here as well. And so because we don't feed them, because people complain, oh, they go through the bins and they rip out. One, that's people who don't know how to use a bin properly. You have to put the lid on the bin. If there's a bit of the bag hanging out over the bin and a fox is starving, they are going to rip the bin bag apart to get to the food that they can smell is in there. That is your fault for not understanding how a lid works. That is not the fox's fault. The fox is hungry and trying to survive. I used to live in a building where people didn't know how bins work, and the amount of notes I left. Not afraid to say it. Not afraid to say it. You're adults and you don't understand that on bin night, the bins go out, and if the bin bag is just left exposed, a hungry fox will rip it apart. So I think we should be feeding the foxes, because all we'd have to do is just put a bit of food out in a safe space somewhere as well. Somewhere for them to, I don't know, some people do. Some people feed foxes. Some people have them in their garden, they look after them. And as I say, I would if Richard Parker wasn't knocking about out there, because I don't want them to sort of battle him for food, or him to sort of, he'd get confused. Anyway, I think we should be looking after foxes in London. And any city that has them. I just live in London. This is my experience with the foxes. I think they're so lovely and it's so unfair. And I don't know how they survive. They survive on bin night, basically. And I guess chickens in the countryside, but there's not many of them knocking about in London. Yeah, we just take them for granted, and that's what Ryan Gosling was saying. If I met him, that would be my in. I agree with you about London foxes. Thank you for your service, Ryan Gosling. Thank you. Yeah, because there's one around here as well that does not look well, and I would love to give him a full meal, like a roast dinner. Actually, would he like that? I don't know what they like, but bin night, that is no way to live. Also, bit morbid. Where do dead foxes go? I've never seen a dead fox. And I've never, opened my door and gone, oh, there's a bad smell out there. Oh, must be a dead... I've never seen a dead... Where do dead foxes go? I know with the swans, because they belong to the queen. I know we've got a king now, but I still say queen. They belong to the kingdoms. It sounds way too 1600s, doesn't it, to say that all the swans in London belong to the king. That doesn't work as well. For me, it's the Queen made sense because we grew up saying it. The King still sounds like I'm living in Shrek. So before swans die, because they're all tagged, they know when they're going to get ill or when they're going to get old enough to die, and they will go and they go and die somewhere quietly. I think they've got like a retirement home for swans. They don't have that for foxes. I think we should do it where let's get... So who's got good PR and say the king owns all the swans, who owns all the foxes? That's what I would... Who does everyone like? David Attenborough. David Attenborough loves the foxes. And he does. You know it's not a lie. I bet he loves them. I bet he's got them knocking about in his garden. Yeah. Oh, you can't... You have to feed foxes. Why? David Attenborough owns them all. So we just feed the fox... And everyone goes, don't question, that's great. Yeah. Yeah. Just, justice for the foxes, basically, is what I'm trying to say there. I should go into some comments, because I asked a question last week about what are people's interests. And that made me feel like a real radio host then, or like a TV host. What are people's interests? And the readers got in touch. And I will say, actually, I had a message this week from somebody telling me off slightly for wearing a blue t-shirt last week. Now, I know I only really wear white t-shirts and black t-shirts. I had I was feeling a bit out there, and I ordered some blues and greens to wear around the house. and I accidentally wore one on the podcast, and they weren't happy about it. In fact, let me try and find that message. That was actually a DM on Instagram, which I don't encourage, but they did explain themselves. Where was it? Who was it again? Was it Louise? Nope. So I'm just going to try and find this message. Fiona. Oh, yeah, Fiona. I'm sorry to have named you, Fiona. I hope that's okay. Okay, so you started off nicely. She said, because you get uncomfortable reading all the great reviews on your podcast. I do get uncomfortable. However, please leave reviews, please. So I don't mean to beg, but please do leave good reviews for the podcast. Apple Podcasts, you now can do it. There was a moment where there was a bit of a mistake and it wasn't coming up. Now, if you search it, you can scroll down and hit 5 stars and just write something nice, ideally. Here is some feedback. It looks like you have a blue t-shirt on, and this is very confusing with all your t-shirt preference talk. Could you please just stick with white t-shirt, with white t-shirt and 53 minutes. Okay, I've got another 12 to go. So much change in the world. Any jumpers are fine. Thank you. Well, I'm wearing a white t-shirt with a green jumper over the top. I hope that's okay. Also, plonkers is an excellent word. I agree. Thank you. And I apologise back to Fiona there. Right, sorry, I've got that one out of the way. Let's delve into the comments. There was one that went too deep there. I'm going to leave that one. Did it? So, I'm allergic to bananas. And whenever I tell people that, they don't believe me. And someone put here, I'm allergic to banana too. Our staff canteen used to put it in the carrot cake, which is mad. But nobody thought to mention it on the menu. I only found out when my hands swelled up like sausages. You look like the king. Do you find people go, banana? That's not an allergy. When you tell them, it's exactly what they say. Banana? You sure? What do you mean? What are you allergic to in a banana? I'm allergic to the banana. It's not got loads of ingredients, has it? Is it? It's a banana. But yeah, no, I am, and it's one of my favourite flavours. Gives me mouth ulcers. And I remember going to the chemist years ago, and I used to get mouth ulcers all the time when I was younger. If I did post a photo of me from the 90s, just know that in my mouth would be a mouth ulcer. It's because I loved bananas. I used to eat them all the time. Not all the time, one a day. And I'd have one on... I used to have it on toast sometimes with peanut butter. God, I love that. But as soon as I have it, I can feel that an ulcer's coming. It just gets me. It gets me in my throat. I'm allergic to them. I have an allergy, a banana allergy. And nobody believes it. And I went to the chemist and said... if you got anything for mouth ulcers, I get them all the time. She said, do you eat bananas? And in fact, I wasn't eating one a day then because I remember my response. I said, yeah, 2 a day. And she said, that'll be it. And I went, what? She went, my daughter's allergic to bananas. Did your mum work in a chemist? Let me know if that's you. But she said, yeah, my daughter's allergic to bananas. It gives her mouth ulcers. Changed my life. Thank you to that chemist. You can buy pesto without pine nuts, and you could also make your own nut-free or with an alternative nut. Oh, I did actually see... I don't think I saw walnut pesto the other day. Did I see that? Maybe that was a dream. I'll have to check it out. Thanks, Georgie. Gillian is the best chocolate. Gillian is the best chocolate. In fact, the other day, I was walking home, and I saw that somebody had left a box of Gillian's outside their house. It's almost like I think they'd tried to throw it away in the recycling, and also they didn't know how to use their bins either, and it was on the floor. Clearly live in a very middle-class area. People are fly tipping boxes of Gillians. But I did think, God, imagine if the Foxes got their hands on that. They would love that. Yeah. Gillian's is the best chocolate. And with a big mug of tea. Tetley. There was a lot of Tetley drinkers. I'm so surprised by that. I struggle. Oh, this was it. The big question I asked was, do people have hobbies? What are your hobbies? I struggle when people ask about hobbies and interests, as I've spent most of my time working on my academic career. I can talk at length about First World War medicine, but most people don't like that topic, and watching TV sounds lazy rather than a hobby. I've found the closest thing to a surefire way to get rid of a headache is sleep, but it's rarely convenient. And that's coming from someone who studied medicine during the war. Imagine that. Imagine you're on the front line with a headache, and they go, just try and get some sleep. You go, right. So I'm just going to have to live with this headache then. That's cool, though. But if you're into something like that, they say, don't they, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life, or something like that. I can't remember. It wasn't me that said it, but it's something like that. It also doesn't make sense, because sometimes what I do is work. But that's cool. I could talk at length about First World War medicine. If we sat next to each other at a dinner party, I don't think I've ever been to one, but I always picture myself being at them and wondering what I would talk about. And I definitely thought my adult life would involve more dinner parties than it has. I think currently 0. I just always thought my life would be living in London in your 30s, would be couples going to someone's house and sat round an like 10-seater dining table, meeting some couples you've never met, and having you're all mutual friends of someone, and you all just sit and have dinner. Why do I think that's what adulthood is? Because the truth is, nobody I know could possibly own a dining table that big or a room that would fit it. So why do I think that's what adult life is? And I still picture myself being at a dinner party, sat next to somebody, and wondering what we would talk about. And it's never happened. Maybe that's just me. Is everyone else going to them and I'm just not getting the invite? Because that would make sense. Hope your headache is better now. It is, thank you. It'd be a problem if it wasn't. It'd been a week. Sorry, that didn't mean to sound so dismissive of you. It just kept on going. It did happen for about 3 days. Regarding Richard Parker's paw print, you can buy special kits to take their prints, which don't actually get mess on their paws. There's a film between their paw and the ink. I really want to get that done, actually. I'm going to look into that. My interest are drawing animals. I have a hamster called Wilfred, and also I love houseplants. Your podcast is a lovely, calm way to start the week. I hope this episode's been calm. It doesn't feel like it. Sorry if it hasn't been as calm. But have you got the app? So there's this app. I think I spoke about it last week. Picture this, where you take a picture of your plant. That's the app. You take a picture of your plant. So I've got my plant behind me here. Let me take a picture. Plant in focus. And let's see what it says. Hopefully it's healthy. It's a bit embarrassing. It's just loading it. So now it load the picture of my plant there. You see the light. What's it saying about my houseplant? Money tree. The plant is healthy, but can be optimized. See handy tips. Have we got some handy tips? Come in. Okay, that doesn't seem to be working. Not a great advert for the app that the diagnosis failed, but non-toxic to humans and pets. Good to know. I do check every one of them is going to be fine with Richard Parker. I actually check it before me. Partial sun, water every 16 days. I might have overwatered you a bit. Sorry about that. Not necessary, but fertilise when you can. Don't know what that means. But it is great. It's also ultimate height, 9 meters to 18 meters. You've got some way to go. Don't do that though, because you wouldn't fit in the house. But it's really nice actually. I like that one. So yeah, good app if you've got your plants there. So is it okay if I get a bit waffly towards the end? I did say it would happen at the start, middle, and end. Another interest here. Fantasy Dynasty NFL. Those 3 words will mean so little to so many people. That sounded like the commentary for David Beckham when he scored the penalty against Argentina in the 2002 World Cup. David Beckham to give England the lead against Argentina. It doesn't get much bigger than the next kick of the football. The question is he big enough? Smacks it right down the middle. Low and hard. He's big enough. England lead Argentina. Those 3 little words that mean so much. That was that, and that sounded like that when I said it. Fantasy Dynasty NFL. Yeah, so if you're into the NFL, which I am, You can have a fantasy league. I'm going to try and explain this to people, where at the start of every season, you take turns, you and 11 other people in a league of 12. No one can have the same player, so you all take it in turns to pick a player. So whoever gets the first pick will take the best one. Then the second, you know how that works. Then the 12th will get the 12th best, but they also get the 13th best. Whereas the person who went first gets the first best and 24th best. So it should balance out. Dynasty is when you draft that team once and that is your team. Then every year, when the real teams draft new players, your league then draft those new players. So you collect new players as you go, and it's an ongoing thing. Anyway, that's that. And I could talk about it. That's why I'm not invited to dinner parties, I imagine. I'm into reading, fostering dogs, photography, cinema, and I watch Neighbours, the TV show, every day for about 23 years. Wow. What are you reading at the moment, Bryony? Please let me know. Fostering dogs. Do you have one at the minute? Tell me everything about them. Photography. Do you take pictures of dogs? Cinema. Have you seen Project Hail Mary? And I watched Neighbours, and it was on, but I never got into it. Mother Root. Last time someone told me they start their day with Mother Root, and I didn't. I tried to Google it and didn't know what they were talking about. It sounded like World War II medicine. It's basically ginger, vinegar, chili, and honey. I add soda water. I can't imagine having a fizzy drink that early in the day. It's a great wake-up drink. Tea drinking. My parents used to give me... Oh, my parents. Tea drinking. Yep, my parents used to give me milky tea when I was very young. Maybe 4 or 5. It was probably 90% milk, 10% tea. Huh. It was like a tea latte. A latte. It was PG tips then. That is a lot. That's so early. And I'm into languages, dogs. We've got 2 people into dogs and photography. Connect. You're in the comments on Spotify if you want to chat. Veggie cooking. Lovely. I'm vegetarian. Your Le Creuset mugs def keep the tea warm. I have Emma Bridgewater. I've got both. Oh my God, this sounds so crass and middle class. I'm just very particular about mugs, and I'm sorry. Le Creuset are really good, and I've got Emma Bridgewater one that's white with green and gold stars on it, and it's like it's sort of like the colours of the Green Bay Packers that I like, more like the Milwaukee Bucks, but it doesn't matter anyway. I'm getting too bogged down in detail. That's cool. Thank you, Julie. That's an early tea drinker there. 4 or 5. I'm in my go to as many gigs. This is from Anna. I'm into my go to as many gigs, shows, concerts, films as I can era. Packing them in this year is my new hobby. Had worse Mondays is my soothing recovery plan. Happy to help, Anna. That's, well, good for you, because going out and do something and leaving the house takes a lot. For one, I need people to do it when I do stand up. Obviously, that's sort of my living. Oh, we're at the 53-minute mark. So she's just got to work, everyone. If you're new to this, somebody commented to let me know their commute is 53 minutes, so I make sure every episode is at least that, to get her to work on a Monday morning. So what's your favourite gig you've been to this year, and have you been to see Project Hail Mary yet? Let me know, please. Debbie, I was thinking we need a name for the listeners of this podcast, like the Mondays, but better. Ooh, the name for the listeners. Oh, and I'm into running. Listen to this pod, join marathon training. Blimey. Good luck, Debbie. Dog training. And concerts. There's a lot of crossover. A lot of crossover. I went to the most concerts I've been to in 1 year. Last year, I went to see Oasis, Post Malone, Simply Red. And that is why the algorithm will never get me. Because AI would look at that and go, I don't know who this person is. That's why my average listening age on the Spotify Wrapped thing was 87. I live in Melbourne, where there is a fixation for finding the best coffee. I don't get it. I'm a tea, bracket, Madura green tea, and cat-loving librarian. Wow. That's so wholesome, isn't it? A tea and cat-loving librarian living in Melbourne. Wow. What's the library like? Do you wear a cardigan? to work. I imagine it's too hot. But I imagine the temperature's just right in the library. And what's the library like? Is it like a modern library, or is it like got like dark wood everywhere? Wow. Cat-loving librarian. So I think I found my favourite podcast. Ooh. Oh, is that this one? Oh. Oh, my. Well, next time I come to Melbourne, can I come to the library? If you mean this one, imagine if the next comment is, it's called this, and I recommend you all listen to it. I realise I sound like a cliche. Cliche away. Cliche away, Michelle. I'm not an expert, but love live entertainment, particularly music. You all go into your shows. Look at you all going out there. And then I see what you mean. Mondays, you're like, that was a big weekend. Let's just listen to this guy waffle. Let's balance out the culture we've taken at the weekend by listening to this guy bang on. I got my tickets lined up for Melbourne Comedy Festival events. Loved your show last year. I was at the show where there was a young person attending. I think you may have been surprised by that. Yes, Michelle, there was one... but I think there was 3 in the end. Maybe you were at the first one if I had surprise on my face. People brought their children. I put on extra shows there. But very nice. People came along in Melbourne. I think I was there for 2 weeks doing shows. And so because they sold out on the weekends, we then put on afternoon shows at like 4. People then did, understandably, think that means it's probably fine for children. There was one I walked out on, and there was 2 children, probably 5 or 6, sat there, front row. Their parents were sat to the side, weren't even with them. In the end, I gave them some paper and pens they could do some drawing, because I was thinking, I don't know what you're going to get out of this. It's so nice that, you know, you want to cross all ages, and hey, they're going to be fans for life. I'll need them. 5 and 6, they were so young that their feet, maybe they were younger because their feet barely, I think, came off the seat. But yeah, they were just sat there, and I was like, whoa, we're going to have to reference this. Some jokes I told, I just had to, I'm not rude, but I just had to speak fast. They couldn't quite understand what I was saying. I think just to keep their innocence. And it was Easter. Anyway, that's nice. Thank you, everybody. Also, so Debbie said, I was thinking we need a name for the listeners of this podcast. So what is it? The Mondays. I don't mind the Mondays. The Mondays. But then what would you say? I'm a Monday. If someone heard us in the street and you came up to me and said, I'm a Monday, they would think we were spies sort of meeting up. I'm a Monday. I go, oh, wow, thanks for listening. And then go, what was that? It's like a cult. So you could be the Mondays, and I could start every episode, hello Mondays. Would you like that? But I do like Mondays. That's a reference to the Boomtown Rats. Great song. I don't like Mondays. I do like Mondays. Had worse Mondays. The Mondays. What do you think? I just keep saying the word Mondays again and again. It's getting towards the end of the podcast. I think I'm tired. But any comments? Any suggestions? What could you all be called? Let me know. And that's it for this week. Sorry I didn't get to go into the YouTube comments, so I'll make up for that next week if we've got time. I hope you've all had a great weekend, and I can't wait to hear about what gigs people have been to. And in fact, tonight, I think I might watch One Battle After Another. I've not seen it. It won the Oscar last week, so maybe I'll watch that. I've been meaning to. Anyway, have a great week. As always, thanks for listening. If you could just do this, either subscribe to the podcast on like YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, hit the subscribe thing. That helps. Just leave a review. You're so lovely, all of you, for listening. It's so nice. But I can also see where you're all listening, and I can see that the reviews aren't coming in for it. So I can just hit it now. Just go, I might as well just do that. I've just got an hour of entertainment, or an hour of a guy talking at least. 5 stars, nice review. Or just 5 stars, anything you can do. It just helps, really, basically. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great week. And as always, see you next Monday. Bye.